Good morning. Welcome to Extraordinary Stories from Extraordinary People. My name is Amy Kochek with Amy Kochek Creative. As always, I kind of like to explain what we're doing here just in case this is your first time watching, because I'm super excited at what we're creating here. So I'm a ghostwriter, I'm a coach, I'm a speaker, I'm all things story related. So through the time that I've been doing ghostwriting and just working with people to tell their stories, I've understood that the most powerful asset that we have is our story. And watching people go through the process of telling their story and then reaping the benefits of that experience has just made me want to bring that experience to so many people on different levels. So this is just another way for me to help people tell their stories, experience the power that you get intrinsically from telling your story, and then also sharing it with other people, because there's so many people in this world that need to hear our stories. They're either going through what we've been through, or they're at the same place that we're at and they just need a little bit of encouragement. This is the thing that connects us. This is the thing that makes us human, is connection, is stories, is the understanding that things sometimes are difficult. Like, even this morning, like before we even started this interview, I'm talking to Casey behind the scenes saying, man, sometimes life is rough. Sometimes I wake up in the morning and I think, and this is for anyone that is trying to build something, or you're trying to go through a transition, and you're doing all the right things. You're doing all the things you know to do, and you're pushing and you're going and you're doing. And sometimes the skies haven't opened up and rained down financial blessings, right? Casey, like they used to tell us in church, right? They haven't opened yet and poured me out a blessing that I can't contain. Like, I can contain a blessing right now. I need it, So you can go through those moments, and it's like, while I'm sharing this with Casey, it's like automatically he gets it, right? So that's a connection there. So that's why we're doing what we're doing. And we usually do it twice a week. I don't really have a schedule for it right now, just because, listen, I struggle with putting rules and regulations on myself. So you're just going to have to follow me and pay attention to what we're doing. So without any further ado, and we are not going to have any technology problems today. I am just speaking it into existence. If it does happen, stay on the live. We'll fix it. We're working with technology as it goes. So I'm going to jump right into it. This is my dear, dear friend, Casey Martin. I met him at a local kava bar. He is the drinkologist extraordinaire. But Casey has probably one of the most charismatic and unique personalities that I ever met. Very well loved and endeared in the Tampa Bay area. And via one of our conversations at the kava bar, we realized that we had a lot of connection in the church world and a lot of experiences that were similar. And his story is just so profound and so impactful. And I know that you guys are going to enjoy it. So I'm going to throw it over to Casey. Casey, introduce us to you. Who are you? What do you do? And any other relevant information you want to share about yourself.
First off, good morning, everybody. My name is Casey Martin. Currently, I live here in St. Petersburg, Florida, the beautiful St. Petersburg, Florida. I've been married now for 9 years to my loving wife, Susan Martin. We have 2 kids. Outside of that, I have 6. I even acquired one in a marriage, so I actually have 7. We do have a big family, but we love it. I am a vet. I was in the United States Army. I served for 9 years total. I did 8 years active Army, and I did a year in the National Guard, which I didn't like because I was used to soldiering all day. That's just a part of who I am, and just like the essence of being real within me. So most of my family, the Martins, we all live here in St. Petersburg by way of Macon, Georgia, which is where my grandparents were from. That's about it. Right now, I work at a Grassroots Kava House. It's on 957 Central Avenue. We have the best in kava and kratom. Most people will say that's debatable.
So wait, tell us, because everybody always wants to know what is kava and kratom. So real quickly, give us a pitch. What is it?
Okay, all right. So kava is a root that grows in Southeast Asia. It has relaxing properties. There's three types that we have at Grassroots. We have Mind Kava, known as Lehui. We have the body kava, which is known as Koa, and then we have the Ohana, which is the 50-50. So the mind has cerebral properties such as insomnia, anxiety, depression, stress. Um, the body kava, Koa, helps with like physical pain, like if you worked out or any type of soreness in the body. And the 50-50 is just a combination of the two. Kratom is a Malaysian botanical tea. We determine its properties by the color of the strands of the leaves. So the main strands are red, green, and white. Red is relaxing. Green is euphoric and energetic, which is what I usually recommend, what we recommend to our first time guests. And white is all energy, very powerful stuff. So it tastes like a very strong green tea, but it's very good for you. It's very good for the body as well.
Awesome. Perfect. Okay. So I want to jump right into your moment. So as with all of my stories, I want to focus on that moment, right? The moment where your life kind of shifted. You saw your life going one way. You had all of these, visions of where it was going to go, and then it shifted. So before you get to the shift, set us up. What's happening? What's going on in your life? Where are you at currently? And where does your life appear that it's going to project? So get us all the way up into that pivotal change moment. Set us up.
Whew. Okay. So back, what was it? 09. It was 09. I was dead broke. And, I called my mom. I was like, Mom, some money. And, she was like, well, I don't have any, yada, 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 but I know how you can get money. It's like, how? She was like, pay your tithes. Like, pay what? Like, pay your tithes. Oh, okay, whatever that is. So, I didn't know what it was at the time. Then I ended up, going to church with my cousin, and I never looked back. He was like, well, come with me. My pastor comes pick us up. And so I go outside, and it's and this pastor is the previous pastor who just who conducted the funeral services for my aunt, my cousin's grandmother. Anyway, I didn't like him because, he called me out in church, you know what I mean? And didn't know what he was doing at the time, didn't know what that was, only to find out that I was going to be his right-hand man for the next 10 years. Mm-hmm. In that, though, I was all in, Pentecostal church. I was all in, I was rooted and grounded. My pastor would come over, 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I still got marijuana smoke in my house, but he would call me 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, wants to come over and devour the word with me. And my girlfriend at the time, who's now my wife, we would just sit there for hours and just do that. And became his armor bearer. For those of you that don't know what that is, just his assistant. It got to a point where I was able to think of what he wanted before he knew he wanted it. Mm-hmm. That's how dedicated I was, not only to my duty as an armor bearer, but also as a servant of God and of Jesus Christ. So this went on for a while. Some liked us, some loved us, some hate us. But it got to 2017, and my pastor, he was a very big man. And
like physically big?
Physically big, yes. He at one point he was over 700 pounds.
How involved? Now, before you jump to that part, like just to give us a picture of how dedicated you were. Like, how many times a week are you going to church? Are you preaching at the time? What are people telling you about yourself as far as the placement? Break it down for us. Take us to church.
Oh my God, take you to church, man! I've been there a long time. No disrespect. First off, no disrespect for those of you who are in church or who do go to church, who believe in Jesus Christ or Allah or Buddha or whoever it is that you seek saving from. Wow. So yeah, Sunday morning, Sunday school, church. Tuesday, Bible study. Bible band study. Thursday, again, Bible study, but we were running a series. And if there was somebody preaching Friday night, you went. If there was somebody preaching Saturday night, you went, only to get up Sunday morning and repeat it all over again. Um, I I started out as a deacon. I became a deacon really quick. I learned how to teach. I started teaching Sunday school. Later on down the line, started preaching. My first sermon was New Year's Eve, watch night. Who doesn't know about watch night? So, so yeah, the first time I preached it was watch night. My buddy Kenyatta Brown. Shout out to Kenyatta Brown, one of my old friends. He came to see me, and so it started becoming regular to me. Study to show thyself approved unto God. I would often sit here and just research and study and research and study, which kind of got me to where I am now. I'm sure we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. But yeah, just Amy, just nonstop, just repeat.
It's
It's
right?
just the process. Yeah,
That's
you know,
life, and everything else outside of that is like you're a visitor there, right?
right.
That's essentially what it is. Like, you're trained to believe that anything outside of that is the world, but life happens inside the church. Life happens with activities, and the more that you get involved, the more that it consumes everything: your mind, your heart, your relationships, your family. So yeah, I totally get it. So take us to 2017. Your pastor's very physically big, over 700 pounds. What happens?
So okay, well, he's been a big guy. He's just naturally a big guy. It was funny because he had no heart complications. He had no problems. He was just a big guy. He was just big. He did love to eat. He would call himself the world's only fat, good-looking preacher. That's how he would introduce himself at different church functions, and a lot of people loved it. But you had the haters out there who have to do their job. Yeah. But anyway, so 2017, my pastor, he wasn't doing too well at the time. He was admitted in the hospital, and so myself, my wife, his wife, and the couple other people were there. Anyway, long story short, it came down from the organization that they wanted to get rid of my pastor. It felt that he was unfit to preach because of his size and weight, which had nothing to do with his voice and his mouth. The very thing that I heard, for 9 years. Anyway, so they wanted to get rid of him. And I don't know, for those of you who are not church folk, church folk have this saying where, let God do it, or we're going to let God, figure it out. But what a lot of people miss out on is that faith without works is dead. So while you're sitting there waiting, nothing's happening because you're not doing anything. A lot of people forgot about you take 2 steps forward and God will meet you with more steps. Anyway, so they wanted to boot him out. I was against it. No one did anything about it. The powers that be that could have just easily eliminated the threat of forcing my pastor to resign. They didn't do anything, and I was fed up. Yeah. I was fed up, and I left. I told them I no longer wanted to be a part of this organization. I wasn't done with church. Wasn't done. I was still serving God. I was still serving Jesus. So I got out. I walked out and never looked back. So I wanted to go. I still wanted to go to church. I had to be a part of it. I was missing out. I felt like I was missing something.
Yeah.
So I wanted to go to church still. And there's a lot of pastors that I learned that I followed along the way, who, if in this situation, who would I go to? And I went to their churches and I felt nothing.
Yeah.
I felt nothing, Amy. And I know a lot of people out there are like, oh my God, like I said, I don't want to freak anybody out, but this is my story. So I didn't feel anything and I just stopped going. I would sit at home and I would try to get in the Bible and it just wasn't working for me anymore. And so I just stopped going. Only to realize for me that that was not for me. That was my path in the beginning, but my path, my pivotal moment came in that time. I had no idea. I thought I was gonna serve, serve God to the day I die, serve Jesus to the day I die.
And you were on track to become a pastor, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Man, there's something about being taught, just listening, especially with a wise teacher. I was fortunate; I had a wise teacher, so I was able to move up fast.
Yeah.
In church, in the church ranks. So yeah, I became an elder, licensed elder, currently still. And then I got
what is
promoted
that? To. You're a licensed elder. What does that mean?
So licensed elder now. Now you're able to wear titles such as pastor, assistant pastor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, things like that. Bishop, apostle, elder. Elder is like the root of those subtitles. So elder would be the title.
Yeah. So let me ask you this, because my story is similar in that an event, something happened that was like the turning point for me to leave. But the event really had nothing to do with it, because the event just confirmed all of these doubts and questions that I had for close to 10 years. It honestly even started when I was much younger. And I know that you didn't like grow up in it, but that event, it wasn't essentially an event. And I'm not speaking for you, but when did you start noticing that there was some gaps between what you were believing and what you were hearing, or you were starting to have doubts, and that event was what said, okay, this is it?
It's funny you should say that. Throughout my church career, not getting questions answered. I would ask a lot of questions. Oh boy, man, you wanna piss off a pastor, you wanna piss off church leader, man, ask questions. Come ask questions. But you really want to piss them off, ask questions that they don't know the answers to. See, I was taught when I was in the Army, we were taught if you don't know the answer to something, act like you do. Walk off with the intent like you're going to go take care of that mission.
Yeah.
Like you know what you're doing. And so I carried that with me. So I would often ask questions, they wouldn't get answered, and I would get insulting answers. Shut up, because God said so. Why are you going against God? That's the devil in you. How's the devil in me if I'm asking a question about something I don't understand? I don't understand the logic there. So like that stuff would happen. That happened throughout the years, along with just the constant abuse and hatred towards my pastor. And in church they tell you, you don't follow man, follow God. But it's kind of impossible not to follow somebody who you're looking up to, who you're I didn't mimic my life, but after him, but I took a lot from my pastor.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, just a lot of things, Amy, just led up to where I am today. It was the fear. It's the fear. It's the fear.
Yeah.
The fear in church. It's the fear, and it played a big part. It still continues to play a big part. Most of the people in church today.
Explain that. I like that you said that. Explain that. What do you mean that there's a lot of fear in church?
Like I was saying, most people, like I was getting ready to say, most people today that are in church, they're in it because of the fear. They're afraid. They hear these things. Oh, if you don't do this like this, you're going to hell. Mm-hmm. If you don't do this, your soul is going to be damned to hell. So a lot of people live in fear, and they constantly go through what they're going through in church. They're still struggling. Nothing's coming about. Don't get me wrong. Like some people, are fortunate. Some things do happen to them. They do get blessed or what have you. Some not so much. And, I just over the years, my wife and I would just look at each other and we'd just be like, God, like how much longer do I have to roll on the floor? How many more times I have to beat my face into a pillow? How many more, Kleenex do I have to get, to wipe my tears and, to blow my nose because I'm so hurt because all I'm doing is praying, praying, and praying, and nothing's happening.
Yeah.
That wasn't always the case, sometimes things, but you would always get like a little taste. You'd always get like a little bit. You never really got that one break. You never really got that one chance. I always felt like, while I was in, but it's the fear factor, Amy. A lot of people don't want to admit it, but it's the fear, not the fear of God, but just the fear of, total damnation.
Yeah. I remember we talked about this too. Like when I was in church, the mentality was like, if you leave, you're labeled backslider. If you leave, then as a backslider, you're not going to be blessed. You're going to be depressed all the time. You're going to give your life over to Satan. If you blaspheme the Holy Ghost, you're damned forever. There's no way to be forgiven. I mean, you're right. So a lot of fear. So now I'm going to ask you, you make the decision to not go back. You figure out that environment of church is not for you anymore. How did you start breaking away from that fear, first of all? And then how did you start breaking away from beliefs that you had once held so close to you?
Wow. I would just sit here. I would just sit in my home. And it felt like I was, withering away. I felt like my life was definitely coming to an abrupt end, and I was gonna be damned to hell. And all of a sudden, church folk call them revelations. I'll call them downloads. I'll call them downloads now. Whether people choose to believe this or not doesn't really matter. It's my story. I knowledge would just come to me.
Yeah.
Common sense would just come to me. It still does right now to this day. Because I don't believe I know that the universe knew what I wanted. All I ever wanted to do was serve the higher power.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever, whatever they were, or he was, or she is.
Mm-hmm.
All I ever wanted to do was just serve. I wanted to be a part of that. And so I started receiving all this knowledge, and I would research, I would backtrace it, and it turned out to be accurate. Nobody told me anything. It would just happen. And so I started learning from that. And then I was led in a direction, and I just stayed in that direction. And the things that I've learned the past couple of years now has just been breakthrough, not only for myself but for my family as well. My wife, her as well. We both research and study just what's out here, what's happening. Best way to know your opponent is to study your opponent, is to research your opponent. A lot of people run around here, they're shunning Satan, or they're shunning the devil, and they don't really know who that is, or why they're against this entity, or they're against this force, or they're against this energy. It's just, oh, I hate Satan. Boom. Do you know anything about him? Do you know how to fight? Do you know how to fight Satan? Do you know how to fight the enemy? And a lot of people don't. So I would just start getting all this information and just started running with it. Knowledge truly is power. I don't go around, displaying it, just, running my mouth, telling people, hey, why are you in church? Get out of church, blah, blah, blah. That's your own life. That's your path.
Mm-hmm.
I am not here to take anybody away from church. I couldn't do it if I tried,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
So,
So
go ahead.
the decision for you to leave and like the transition, the changes that you've experienced in your life. I always ask this question because I think it's valid for every change you make. What did it cost you? What was the cost you had to pay for that decision?
Wow. Same way you go into church, first thing you do is you lose your friends. You
Yeah.
lose family members. You lose people near and dear to you. It's no different when I got out of the church. Same thing still happened. People that were near and dear to me, I barely even talk to anymore. We just don't see eye to eye. And while you're trying to convince me, that Jesus is the way, I'm I'm begging to differ for my own life.
Right.
And wow, Amy, I lost a lot of people. I had one. I'll tell you this one story. I was upset. One of my buddies lost his job at this establishment, this restaurant on Central Avenue. I don't want to give the name because I don't want to, I don't want to. I'll just let people find out for themselves about this place. But anyway, it's on Central Ave. That's all I'll give you, and it's not Grassroots. Anyway, my buddy, one of my really close to my brothers, got fired from his job because one of the employees felt uncomfortable working with him.
Mm-hmm.
He just started the job, and so he lost his job. So I was upset, and I got on Facebook, something I normally would never really do, and I was like, I said something, I posted something, and I'm going ham, I'm cursing, and all of this, something that a lot of, that people that I've gotten to know over the course of the past 10 years, they don't know me like this. One person in particular reached out where he, posted, this outlandish post. He was like, oh, if Pastor was still here, he wouldn't like what you just said. I'm a grown ass man. Are you kidding me right now? Are you serious? I am 43 years old, going on 44 this year. I have a beautiful family. Things are looking up. I have things in motion, not in line, not planning stuff, like in motion. Like my life, our lives are about to change as we know it forever. And, you have the audacity to say what he said. I deleted the post. Usually when people would troll on my post, I delete them because my bite is a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And, I know how I can get. So I just show mercy on a lot of people when I don't, counteract. And it just makes me feel better, that I don't have that anger, that animosity. It just proves to me that I'm not even on that level. I'm on a whole different level than them. But it just goes to show you, whereas I don't want to be a judge. I don't want to judge people, for serving God, for serving Jesus. I'm getting judged for not doing it. You're getting judged, Amy, for not doing it.
Right.
So, yeah.
So tell us the difference between the Casey 10 years ago, in it, about to be a pastor, and the Casey now, and then tell us if it was worth it. Is it worth it?
Wow. Casey 10 years ago. Let's go Casey 12 years ago. 11 years ago. Okay. Let's take it back a little bit. Right. Before the church. I was hell.
Yeah.
I was hell, man. Hard-headed, attitude, stubborn. I wanted to be with everybody. I wanted to be with all the women.
Mm-hmm.
I was something else. I always had a big heart though. My heart was always big, and I love hard. Fast forward now, I'm still stubborn, still hard-headed. Mm-hmm. I've calmed down a lot. I learned how to harness my my negative attitude. I learned how to harness that energy. I learned how to control my anger. Wow, Casey now. Super responsible. I love to see my wife happy. Shout out to Susan Martin. Love you, babe. I love to see my wife happy.
Yeah.
She's the engine, in this household. When she's not happy, no one's happy, and I make sure of it until she is. And then we all are again. And, there's balance in the universe. But very, very helpful then and now. I guess the biggest difference is that I'm free.
Yeah.
I'm free. I don't have those fears anymore. I don't fear, if I'm gonna be able to pay my bills. I don't fear, the fact that I don't get to see half of 50% of my children. We could be real, right? This is a real show. Okay, all right, just checking, because yeah.
Yeah, do you?
Yeah, despite all of that stuff, I still don't have that fear.
Yeah.
These things can kill you, led by stress, which took one of my brothers and one of my dearest cousins from me. My buddy Ronald Lowry, and my cousin Demetrius Martin. They were both taken out by stress. Couldn't see their kids. My buddy Ronald couldn't see his kids. He's just going through hell, with his girlfriend, his ex-girl, and he ended up when he passed, he weighed less than I did. And this guy, when I first met him, he was almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
My cousin, same deal. He was getting ready to come home that morning. He had some issues. Somebody slipped something into his drink, and it, drove him crazy a little bit. He recovered because he's strong, because he's a Martin, and he died of an aneurysm. Just boom, And these things occur because we have so much worry. These things happen because we stress. These things happen because of the things that we fear. In this world, we can't even get in front of a group of people and talk, without, like having to go and chunk everything up or something, because you're so nervous, or because, you're not relaxed. You just don't know how to, how to adapt, in whatever environment, you're in, and all that goes back to just fear. You're just, a lot of people out here are afraid. And you don't even have to be in church. There's so many different fears out here. It's almost like the world is led, with fear,
Yeah. So do you feel like, because I always say it's a traumatic thing to completely move away from one belief system, one way of living, especially when it's so controlling, so all-consuming. And you go to the other side and you have these epiphanies. And one of the main epiphanies, and I think you already alluded to it, is that the idea that church wasn't essentially bad. I always say this, like, I don't regret the years that I spent, that I spent, because they made me who I am. But I also realized that, like, when you're going through life, there's certain things that you need and that are required in environments where you can grow and become more of yourself. And then there's times where it's time to shift, And it sounded like your time came and you went with the shift, and now you're on the other side of it. So now my question is, you're not necessarily on the platform preaching and teaching like you were when you were in the church, but how are you using the revelations that you've been receiving, the downloads, as you say, the downloads that you've been receiving, the things that you've learned, the person that you are, the teacher that you still are? How are you using your story now to impact your environment, impact your family, and impact your world?
When I was in church, my pastor. Oh, by the way, oh man, I'm so disrespectful. His name was Bishop Bruce Edward Moore, and may he rest well. very, very dear man in my life. Wow. What was the question? I was thinking about it for a second.
I knew you
I
forgot.
knew that was going to happen.
Okay.
Damn it. I knew that was going to happen. Yeah.
Okay, so how are you using your current downloads?
Oh, yeah. Gotcha.
How are you using it to impact other people's lives?
Yeah. Sorry about that. Wow. So I led with his name, with who he with his name, who he was, because of what you just asked me. Was that he always he would tell me, he would be like, never just speak, never speak what's in your mind, always be led, basically. So let me break that down. Because how else can you not speak what's in your mind unless it's in your mind or whatever? So unless if it's beneficial, if it's helping, don't just throw stuff on people who just start running your mouth and just telling people things, and it's non-relatable. It has nothing to do with anything. You just want to be heard, you just want to be seen. So how I use those tools now, it just happens. Maybe someone will have a situation, maybe they're going through something. I can't read people, but I'm a pretty good reader, if you will, of emotions, of moods, because I'm the master of moods. I'm a Cancer. So it'll usually lead with, how are you doing? And depending on how they answer me, the tone or whatever, I could tell if something's wrong. And then if I'm led to do it, then it just happens. I just go in. I just begin to encourage. I begin to share wisdom, share knowledge, the things that were shared to me, and then some, the things that I've learned on my own along the way. All these things have proven to be very helpful to a lot of people. I help myself. A good teacher will always listen to what they've taught, rather than teaching it. Not only just teaching it, but they also learn from what they're teaching. Yeah. So thank you. Whenever I'm encouraging, or whenever I'm giving advice, or whenever I'm just trying to build somebody up, I always, I take it all in for myself as well, because I'm too, and still am a student. So it's like I'm teaching myself.
I love that. Okay, last question. So, for any person,
so much fun.
I know, we could be on here for 3 hours. Okay, so to any person that's watching that may be, and it doesn't have to necessarily be a church situation, it can be if someone's in that environment and feeling like it's time to get out, if someone's on the other side of that and feeling like there's no life after it, or if someone's just at like a transitional point in their life, what's one piece of advice that you can give them that you learned when you were going through your pivotal moment in life?
Let go of the fear. Let go of the stress, man. Love hard. Lead with your heart and your mind. Think things through. I'm sorry. Think things through. Man, I when I lost my cousin Demetrius, I was telling you all about. I lost him. I was done. I was done, man. Screw stress, man. Screw that shit. So I launched a campaign against it. I don't stress. Things I can't control, things I don't worry about. I mean, things that I have no power over. I don't stress out about it. I don't. Every day people ask me, how are you doing? I'm doing great, man. I'm doing wonderful. This is my life. This is Casey Martin's life. This is the life that I have to live for myself. It's no one else's. It's not Amy's. It's not my wife Susan's. It's nobody's. It's my life. It's your life out there, whoever you are. You know, take your life back. That's the problem. Stop living your life in fear. You know, don't worry about it. It's all psychological. Do not go through your life uh, just being afraid, you know, and missing out on life. And then you're on your dying bed and you're wishing you've done all these things.
Yeah.
Versus you're on your dying bed, you got a bunch of people around you. You've lived life like quadruple, triple, it doesn't matter. All you've done was just live your life. You lived a healthy life and you got a lot to show for it. And you're laying there and you just look around and you look up as best you can because you know you're on your way out and you smile and you don't want a damn thing because you did everything.
Yeah.
And you lived your life with no fear and you lived your life with no stress. If you're out there right now and you feel that way and this is happening and you feel this way right now at 10:45 in the morning, I'm here to tell you, don't do it. Change your life today because it's the only one that we have. We only get one shot at this that we know of. I've heard of the afterlife. I've never been there. Amy, have you been there?
Not that I remember.
Okay, all right. I've heard that we have past lives. Can you recall any of your past life moments?
I don't, but I'm almost sure that we were friends in our past life. I tell you that all the time.
Yeah. I'm sure. Yeah. A lot of people always say those things, but
yeah,
the point I'm driving is that it's the here and now.
Yeah.
Is that we need to be concerned about. So
yeah. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so if people want to get in contact with you, they can just go to your Facebook page. You have any other source that they can contact you if they so wish?
Email armorboy, boy with an I 33 at gmail.com. Also armorboy33 on the gram. Same thing with Twitter. And I work at Grassroots Kava House.
Perfect.
957 Central Avenue.
If you're in Tampa Bay and you have not been to Grassroots, must go. Have Casey make you a drink. He's one of the best. I don't want to say the best because I love everybody. So
it's Kratom Wednesday, everybody. It's Kratom Wednesday. We have $4 singles, $8 doubles.
There you go.
Come and check us out.
Awesome.
Bandingo tonight. We're also doing Bandingo tonight as well. Bandingo is it's music bingo. So led by Joe Stern. That's always a fun time. We do it every second Wednesday of the month. So we're gonna have an awesome time. Myself, I will be behind the bar along with the Chief, Ken tonight. Together, Ken and I, we form Black Dragon. So come out tonight and see Black Dragon pouring drinks and playing Bandingo.
I love it. Well, Casey, thank you so much. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for coming on today. I know that people were impacted by it. I know that I've been personally impacted by your story and by the man that you've become because of the decisions you made. So thank you for being on today. And then I will in the comments put the email and such that you can contact him. So, we're not soliciting stalkers, but the point is human connection, right? So if there's something that resonates with you with Casey's story and you want to chat it up, you want to talk, you want to connect, let's do that because that's the point. The human connection is what mattered, not just low level liking people's posts and, presenting this highlight version of ourselves. It's like, let's get raw, let's get vulnerable, and let's connect based on our vulnerability. So thank you for watching. I will be back on Friday with a new guest. Casey, do you have something to say?
Yeah, I just wanted to say it to you. I love what you're doing. I love what you're doing for those common folk out here. You got it going on right now, Amy. Continue your success, and you keep living free. And again, thank you for what you're doing for the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a